But what most audiences never realized is how close this production came to failure. Water changes everything. Cameras behave differently. Light behaves differently. And humans behave differently when they know they cannot breathe. During early tests, several scenes were abandoned entirely, not because they looked bad, but because the human body could not safely repeat them. Actors were instructed never to push past their limits, yet instinct took over. When you are underwater, in character, surrounded by cameras, your mind forgets the clock. There were moments when safety divers had to intervene, not dramatically, not urgently, quietly, professionally, because panic underwater is invisible. James Cameron monitored these tests personally. He was not watching performances, he was watching physiology, heart rates, muscle tension, eye focus. If the body failed, the scene failed. That discipline shaped the entire film. Every movement of the Metcaina feels effortless because it was rehearsed until effort disappeared. The children in the cast faced an even greater challenge. Unlike adults, they could not rely on strength. They had to rely on calm. Months of training taught them not how to swim, but how to think underwater, how to stay still, how to react slowly, how to trust the environment. Some of those actors would later say they felt more at ease underwater than on land. Then came the sound. Underwater dialogue is impossible to record traditionally. Sound travels differently, voices distort, emotion vanishes, so the performances were captured silently. Breath, expression, eye movement. Only later were the voices rebuilt, layer by layer, to match the original underwater emotion. This is why the dialogue feels restrained, intimate, almost whispered. It was designed that way. Even the pacing of the film was a deliberate risk. Cameron refused to rush the ocean. He believed water demands patience, long takes, slow transitions, lingering silence, moments where nothing explodes, nothing collapses, because the ocean does not hurry. And then there is the darker truth. Some scenes were intentionally uncomfortable. The hunting sequences, the destruction, the cruelty, they were not meant to entertain. They were meant to disturb. Cameron wanted the audience to feel what it is like when something ancient is treated as disposable. Many crew members admitted those scenes were the hardest to work on, not technically, emotionally. By the time post-production ended, the film had passed through multiple technological eras. What began as experimental footage ended as one of the most advanced visual experiences ever released. But The Way of Water is not remembered for technology alone. It is remembered for restraint, for choosing vulnerability over spectacle, for telling a story where survival is not about winning, but about holding on. And perhaps that is the greatest irony of all. A film built on the most advanced technology in cinema history chose to remind us that the most powerful force on Pandora is family. And like water, it adapts, it endures, and it always finds a way. Avatar. The Way of Water is not just a sequel, it is a technical experiment, a human endurance test, and a cinematic risk that very few directors on Earth would dare to take. This is the story behind the camera, the details rarely discussed, and the reasons why this film pushed modern cinema to its absolute limits. From the very beginning, director James Cameron made one thing clear: the water had to be real, not simulated, not imagined. Real water, real pressure, real breath. To achieve this, the cast trained for months in professional freediving techniques. Some actors learned to hold their breath for over 6 minutes, underwater, while performing emotional scenes. This was not acting in front of a green screen. This was survival combined with performance. Traditional motion capture technology simply could not work underwater, so Cameron's team had to invent something new. They created the world's first underwater motion capture system, capable of reading facial expressions through distorted light, bubbles, and moving currents. Every blink, every muscle movement, every silent emotion, all of it was captured beneath the surface. The massive water tanks used for filming were not ordinary pools. They were engineered environments, designed to control waves, reflections, and even microscopic particles floating in the water. Because in the world of Pandora, water is not just scenery, it is a living character. The Metkayina clan, the ocean Na'vi, were designed with an entirely different anatomy. Wider arms, stronger tails, bodies shaped by generations of life in the sea. Their culture, movements, and even body language were inspired by real coastal civilizations and marine mammals. And then there were the creatures. The Tulkun, gentle, intelligent giants of the ocean, were not created as monsters. They were designed to feel emotional, ancient, and deeply connected to the ecosystem. Their behavior was based on real whales, including social bonds, grief, and memory. Every underwater light ray you see in the film is physically accurate. The way sunlight bends, fades, and scatters beneath the surface was calculated using real-world oceanography data. Nothing was left to chance. Even the emotional core of the story changed. Unlike the first film, The Way of Water is not about discovery. It is about protection, family, legacy, and the fear of losing what you love. Many scenes were filmed years before the final release, then revisited, refined, and re-rendered as technology evolved. Some shots you see on screen went through thousands of hours of rendering for only a few seconds of film, and perhaps the most surprising detail of all. Despite the scale, the budget, and the pressure, James Cameron filmed this movie as if he were preparing for the future, not the present, because The Way of Water was never meant to stand alone. It was designed as the foundation for an entire saga, a cinematic ocean that would keep expanding, and just like the ocean itself, most of what makes this film extraordinary exists beneath the surface.